There's something about FMV games from the 90s that I find interesting. I guess it's because of how experimental it all was. Because when CD-ROM hit, all of a sudden publishing houses found that they could now release games free of the size constraints that they had been working under. Previously, a game that was only a few megs in size seemed huge, but now, you could fill CDs that could hold at least 650 megs, and you could use multiple CDs for one game. So, what do you do with all that space? I don't know who was the first one to suggest to fill that space with video of actors, but it started a genre that's kind of remarkable for how silly it seems. The whole idea was to take pre-recorded video and try to find some way to make it interactive, while knowing that there was no way to make it anywhere as interactive as existing sprite-based games. Why would you even try to do this? I don't know, but a lot of people in the games business seem to buy into the idea. The thought was that Hollywood and games were combining, that video games were going to be much more story-driven and cinematic. Which actually did happen, but not in the way that people thought at the time. I said that FMV games were experimental. What I mean is that, as these movie games were being made, it seemed like the developers were still trying to figure out what they should be doing with them. Because what constitutes a good FMV game? Games like Myst and The Seventh Guest sold well, but those were both point-and-click games. Does that mean that all FMV games needed to be point-and-click? And what's the audience you're trying to reach? Video games were thought to be entirely for kids, but now, if you're trying to make an interactive film of mystery and intrigue, who is your audience supposed to be, and how are you going to sell to them? And how are you supposed to give your film the level of interactivity needed to break away from the negative reaction people were developing towards FMV, as a lot of people were not considering them to be real games? Why are you even making FMV games in the first place? I like looking at these old games and seeing how the developers tried to answer these questions. Which brings us to Mode. Mode is a game from 1996, published by Corel, as at one time Corel gave games publishing a try, though it didn't last long. It was developed by Animatics Multimedia Corporation, which had a couple other FMV titles under their belt, though I hadn't heard of them before. The game advertises itself as an intriguing interactive drama on CD-ROM, and seems to promise a mature, sophisticated interactive experience. The premise is that we are at a party attended by the rich and the cultured members of high society, hosted by a mysterious man considered a genius in the worlds of art and fashion. So, was the game any good? Nice. I wonder if this has anything to do with why Corel didn't stay in the games business for long, or why it seems that pretty much nobody has even heard of Mode. After doing a Google search for Corel Mode game, I counted only 7 of the resulting links being about the game, with one of those being a Google Answers page where someone is stating that they can't find the game anywhere. Well, the game's here, and we're going to play it. However, I can't play it by myself. You see, Mode is pretty much an FMV choose-your-own-adventure book, and like a choose-your-own-adventure book, it really only has value when the players don't know what their choices will lead to. So, on December 30th, 2011, I held a stream where I played the game, and a group of around 25 people voted on what choices would be made. So let's play Mode, and find out what happened on that night. Even though Mode was released in 1996, it's actually a Windows 3.1 game. It can work in Windows 95, but it doesn't work in modern Windows like Windows 7. So, if we're going to play this game, it has to actually be in Windows 3.1.
Welcome to Mode, an interactive installation of fashion and art diversion by Vito Dress. Your pass to this event is the dome pin you received with your ticket. You must wear this at all times while inside the Mode event. Failure to wear the dome will result in ejection from the event. There are no other rules.
So, what does one wear to Dante's Inferno anyway?
And so the party of the year begins.
That's my hair.
A gathering
The girls.
of the elite,
Spontaneity is highly overrated.
of the wealthy,
Hey, what's up?
Things you'll do for pain.
and of the intellectual.
I'm about to feel real good.
Somebody told me Elvis was here.
I mean, you can tell that these people are the avant-garde, right?
Everybody at home, this party's gonna rule.
Sure is.
I'm going to Disney World!
Great. You don't even know why you're being recorded, do you?
Vito, I know you're listening. I love you.
Alright, let's go into the party. I mean, let's not judge it by those people. I mean, this party has a stack of monitors in the wall with a big old computer lady greeting us to the event. And in the 90s, it didn't get more cutting edge than that. But there is one thing we need to keep in mind from what the computer lady told us. She told us that our pass into the event is our dome, and that it came with our ticket. There's a problem with this. We never got a ticket. We don't have a dome. We were not invited, and that means we're a party crasher. Now, as we go into the Mode event, we don't really know anything about it, but we can assume that our main objective for right now is to get a dome. Now, how will our being domeless affect our interactions with the guests at the Mode party? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's go on in and mingle.
And enjoying the age-old pastime of mingling with the young, the beautiful, and the creatively endowed. And so far, Vito has not let us down. The scene here tonight has been what I'm going to call chic and freak. Local art fans will remember last year's apocalyptic karaoke catastrophe at the Hideyoshi Tower, with its shocking animal acts and giant inflatable body parts. While this year Vito has toned down the shock, toned up the shtick, mixed in a black and neon cabaret decor, and set the whole thing against the backdrop of high-tech haute couture.
What was that about animal acts? It sounds like last year's party was a lot more interesting, but this is the first person that we can talk to, some kind of reporter. The chat was mixed about whether or not we should approach the reporter, but we want to make as many friends as we can while we can, since we don't know anyone here. So let's go talk to her.
But the question on everyone's mind tonight, what will Vito do for an encore? For weeks now, he has been hinting in the press that this might be his last multimedia event. Indeed, perhaps his last public appearance. Oh, sorry. Start again. Okay. But the question on everyone's mind tonight, what will Vito do for an encore? For weeks now, he has been hinting in the press that this might be his last multimedia event. In fact, perhaps his last public appearance of any kind, and that he plans to go out with a bang. Well, the rumors floating around the room tonight are as strange and fascinating as the fashions. Whatever happens, you can rely on me to be your eyes and ears on the scene. This is Charity Flame for Nightlight Magazine. Did we get it? Great. Thanks. Hi, enjoying the event?
I'm going to give the game the benefit of the doubt and assume that the blooper there was in the script. Though with Mode, it's kind of hard to tell. But here's our first actual conversation, and this is where the meat of the gameplay is. We should probably learn at this point how to actually speak to people in this game.
Welcome to Mode Help. The cursor changes when you can do something. Try clicking anywhere.
Alright, there are a few things that we could click on in the help screen, but the main thing we're interested in is this bar at the bottom. That's the mood bar, and it's the tool that we have to interface with the game and to interact with the guests at mode. So we're going to have to learn how this thing works.
This is the mood bar. It represents a sliding scale from positive to negative. Clicking on it indicates your response in the conversation. Do you understand?
All right, it's asking us a yes or no question. Do we understand? How do we answer that? Well, from what they said, red is going to be us answering no, we don't understand. Green is yes, we do. Blue is somewhere in the middle, just kind of shrugging our shoulders. Let's say no, we don't understand. Let's pick red.
You're telling me you don't understand? But it's so simple. The left side represents the negative, the right the positive, and the center the neutral. Where you click represents your input in the conversation. Understand?
Maybe we understand a little more.
You aren't sure? But it's so simple. Negative, positive, neutral.
All right, now we understand.
Good. You do understand. Don't you?
Yes, we get it.
As in life, sometimes factors beyond your control will influence the mood bar outcome.
What she's saying is that while most of the time the responses we'll get to our choices will be fixed, at times you can get randomized responses, which is fun.
If the conversation does not require a yes-no answer, the mood bar will indicate your general emotional spin on the dialogue.
And this is actually where most of our responses are going to be coming from. Most of the time we will not be asked yes or no questions, but rather we'll be told something or asked a more general question, and our response will reflect our mood, how we feel about what's being talked about. So in that case, red would mean that we're angry, blue would mean that we're indifferent, we don't really care, and green would mean that we're happy. So how do we feel about this news? I think that makes us mad.
Hey, you don't have to be rude. You try being a nameless talking head in a self-consciously artsy CD-ROM. I tell ya, it's no picnic.
Oh, sorry. And that's really the important thing we need from the help screen, to know how this mood bar works. It's separated into negative, neutral, positive, at least as far as I can tell. Because looking at the game files on the discs, it seems like it's actually separated into 5 sections. Negative, negative, neutral, 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 positive, and positive. As far as I can tell, the purple, which is negative, neutral, and blue-green, which is neutral, positive, don't seem to do anything different from just pure neutral. However, I don't know everything about the game, so maybe there are choices where those will come into play and make things a bit more complicated. But as far as I can tell, it is separated into only the 3 colors and 3 responses, and that was what the chat was understanding. I told them that it was separated into those 3 responses. So every time I asked them a question, asked them to answer it, it would either be red, blue, or green. And now that we know that, let's get back to the game. Alright, so now that we know how to use the mood bar, we have to think about what she said. She asked us if we're enjoying the event. And I asked the chat if they're enjoying the event, and this being the internet, of course, they were quite negative. No, they're not. So let's go with red.
Well, you're not talking to me, that's why. I saw you watching this tape. Have you seen the show?
Alright, she's asking us a yes or no question. Have we seen the show? If we're asked a yes or no question, in this case, green means yes, red means no, and does not necessarily have anything to do with our mood. So the context of what the answers that you give with the mood bar change, depending what the question is. The chat decided that no, we didn't see her show. Why would we watch that?
Oh, well, I guess you're not missing much. Well, I'd just love to chat all night and all, but, you know, got work to do.
Alright, I guess Charity decided that conversation was not going anywhere, and I can't blame her. We were quite negative towards her. Let's go around the room and see who we can speak to. Most of the people at the event are just these static images, and we can't do anything with them. In this particular room, however, there is this guy standing by the back wall, kinda not speaking to anyone. But we can go over and talk to him.
So what do you say? You look like you're in the appropriate party mood.
Well, one thing to notice right off the bat is he apparently has a dome. That looks like what we saw in that video. He has it on his jacket. Maybe we could talk to him and find out more about domes. The chat decided that, yeah, we should try to be positive with this gentleman. We are in the party mood.
It's not really my scene. I feel like I don't fit in. I'm actually an art collector, and I don't get out to these fashion things very often.
Yeah, we could kind of tell. He seems to be a little bit of a fish out of water here. He doesn't really seem to fit in with high society and styles that we're seeing at the Mode event, or whatever it is you would call this. The chat decided that, yeah, we want to be friendly towards this gentleman, see where this goes.
Thanks. You're looking pretty good yourself.
Oh, really? And the chat decided that, yes, we do want to continue to butter him up and see. Maybe things could get interesting.
You know the host?
All right, a yes or no question. Do we know the host, Vito Brevis? We know his name, but we haven't seen him. The chat decided, however, that yes, we are liars, and we will lie to impress this gentleman. We do know the host.
I'm actually pretty interested in his work. Is there anything you can tell me about him?
And he's calling us out on it. No, we don't actually know anything about him. So the chat decided that we're going to play it cool, we're going to play it close to the vest. Don't let him know that we were lying, so we're going to pick blue. Be non-committal.
Yeah. Sure, actually, that's pretty fine. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
At this point, you might start to notice that only his head is video, and the rest of him is a still image. And it's kind of breaking apart right now. Yeah. We're going to see a lot of that, and it's only going to get worse. I guess full-screen video was a hard thing to do back in the Windows 3.1 days. I mean, you're talking about full-screen video? Come on. I guess this actually doesn't even qualify as FMV, because it's not full. You're only getting a little part of the screen there moving, and the rest of him is still, so you can't even call it FMV. Anyway, let's tell him a little bit about ourselves. The chat decided that, yeah, we want to go along with this. Let's answer positively.
I don't know. There's something about you that I just can't figure out. Just what are you all about anyway?
Well, he seems interested in finding out about us. We don't even know his name, though. Let's continue being friendly. That's not even a response, really. The chat decided that if this gentleman was not going to give anything up, then we were also going to go neutral. So let's go with blue, and just respond to his shrug with a shrug of our own.
I don't know.
But that's, again, not a response. I don't know what that is. Let's go with green.
No. Could be.
At this point, the chat was starting to have enough of the gentleman's non-committal responses. I mean, we want to get something back out of this conversation, don't we? And this guy's just not telling us anything at all about anything. So, let's go red and see if maybe getting a little bit aggressive can get a better response.
Yeah, I'll grant you that. You know, you really remind me of somebody I used to know. They're dead now. Actually, that's kind of a lousy story, isn't it? Sorry.
Sure is. That's a great direction for a conversation to go. Let's talk about how we remind him of people who he used to know, who are dead now. They're not with us anymore. Well, the chat decided that maybe that could be taken as a threat, and we're not going to stand up to that. So let's get in his face about it.
I'm not sure that I understand you.
How do you really respond to this? I mean, we're not really having a conversation anymore. It's just basically he's sort of keeping everything to himself. So let's go with blue and just shrug at him.
You know, it wouldn't hurt you to take a position. You've been playing it pretty tough up until now. Are you trying to get me mad?
That's exactly what he's been doing this whole time. The chat decided that, yeah, we do want to get him mad. However, the ways of mode can be confusing, and you have to remember that he asked us a yes or no question. Do we want to get him mad? The chat at first thought that we should answer red to get in his face, but no, it's a yes or no question. So if we want to make him mad, we actually want to go with green. You kind of have to keep paying attention to what you're being asked in mode to know what color to respond with. But yeah, we do want to make him mad. What's he going to do about it?
Hey, you don't know me. So I think you should cool out on the attitude, you know?
The chat decided that no, we're going to give him more attitude. We're going to give him some sass. So let's go with red.
Think before you speak.
The chat does not think before it speaks. So we keep going with red.
You're right. Run along now.
No, we're not. We're going to keep going red.
Run along!
Now things are starting to get loud. And we finally got him to raise his voice, to stop talking into that in that monotone. Let's see if pressing him a little further will do anything.
You know what I think? I think you got some kind of problem.
Things are getting really aggressive now. Maybe we'll get kicked out of the event for fighting. The chat decided that they wanted to press on. We've come this far. I mean, what, are we going to change direction now? Now that we've provoked them to get for getting in our face? So, let's go with red again and see where this goes.
You're not worth the effort.
Well, that conversation ended without us really finding out anything about him or what he's doing here. And now we're seeing, apparently a couple having trouble at the mode event. Having kind of a little bit of an awkward scene. Obviously she's upset, and he's a little bit embarrassed, looking around wondering what people are thinking of him. Because probably he thinks a lot about himself. You can kind of tell just from their stances and their posture. For some reason we can't talk to them. They're just kind of there. No one else on this screen that we can talk to. And that gentleman that we almost came to fisticuffs with is gone. He left. Who knows where. So let's walk around and see if we can... see if things can go any better. If we can make any friendships along the way. No one around here to talk to.
Hey folks, how are you? How are you? Yes. How are you? Are you having fun? Are you guys? Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Geez, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I guess I'm. This is my gig now, man. I'm a stand-up comic, and I had a lot of weird jobs before this. I used to work at a petting zoo for a little while, but I had to quit that. I was getting tired of my people touching me. Just getting a little tired of people touching me. Anyways, listen, you guys, I do hope, yeah, well, I guess I kind of hope you're having fun. There's a lot of great stuff coming up. There's a fashion show. There's all kinds of wacky stuff. If you do see your host tonight, Vito Brevis, he's a kind of a freaky cat, so try to keep a little bit of distance because he's a little odd. Anyways, I'll be back in a bit. Have a good time, all right?
Okay, so this is the stage. This is where the action is happening at the mode event. Throughout the evening, these people are watching these little short performances, such as the one we just saw. And the MC of the night was that clown, I suppose. And this is what the elite are entertained by. This is what they watch. I'm sure in the 90s, this was all very on the edge of culture and fashion. You can tell. And as we return to the stage throughout the night, we're going to see many acts. That was only one. I'm sure we'll see events that are much better than two women putting a sheet over a third woman. Or maybe we won't. So, that's probably enough for a first foray into the mode event. We've talked to a couple people. Neither of those conversations have gone very well. The first conversation with the reporter was cut short. She didn't want to have anything to do with us. We were just very negative. And the second conversation, we almost got in a fight. So things are going as well as they could. We want to continue on to try to get a dome so we can avoid causing any trouble. Hopefully no one notices that we are domeless. But that's it for right now. Next time, we'll continue on in the party, see if we can make any friendlier relationships than what we've had so far, and take a look at getting that dome. See you then.